Hey, Rusty. What's this from? I'll call this meeting to order on Monday, November the 20th, 2017. I want to welcome everyone. Very glad to have with us tonight Pastor Lee Delbridge of the Smyrna Christian Church. He's somewhere he's going to give us our invocation and lead us in the pledge to the flag. So would everyone please rise?
Father in heaven, we thank you for the privilege we have to be here. We ask that you be with these city leaders, that you give them the wisdom they need to make the right decision, and then give them the courage to do it. We thank you for loving us. We thank you for Jesus. It's in his name, the Lord Jesus Christ, that we pray. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Lee, so much for, thank you, Rusty. Thank you. For giving the invocation for those folks that are looking for a church or want to change. I'm sure the folks at Smyrna Christian Church at 910 Concord Road would love to have you stop by. A little small church, but they got a lot going on over there. Thank you, Lee. We've got one agenda change under 4A, 2017-252. There's a public hearing zoning request. That will be tabled until the December 18th meeting. So when we get to that, we'll read that one out, and then that will be tabled. We still have a vacancy at the Ward 3 council seat. Hopefully on the 5th, we'll have a new council member, and they'll be here at our meeting, hopefully on December the 18th. Also tonight, Councilman Ron Fennell is out of town on vacation, so we have 5 members here. Under the mayoral report, we have a proclamation in recognition of small business, Saturday, November 25th, 2017. I'll ask Councilman Doug Stoner to read that proclamation. I think there's someone here that's going to accept that. So
that is correct.
Okay.
Thank you, Your Honor. For those who may not know, this coming Saturday is Small Business Saturday, as it's called. It's a nationally recognized event that's going on, and so we have a proclamation from the city recognizing that. And on behalf of all small businesses in Smyrna, Georgia, David Monroe, who is the president-elect of the Smyrna Business Association, is here tonight to accept that proclamation. And David, if you don't mind, if you can step up to the microphone and talk a little bit about yourself and the Smyrna Business Association.
Great. I want to thank the mayor and council for this honor, and Tammy, the city manager, and the city staff. Thank you very much. My name's David Monroe, and I'm owner of a local real estate company, JWC Real Estate, in the city of Smyrna. I'm also president-elect of the Smyrna Business Association, and we're partnering with the city to sponsor Shop Small Smyrna this Saturday to kick off the shopping event for small businesses in Smyrna. On November 25th, we're going to mark the 7th annual Small Business Saturday dedicated to supporting local businesses that can create jobs, boost the economy, and preserve neighborhoods around the country. Small Business Saturday in Smyrna was created by American Express in 2010, and this is respond to small business owners' most pressing need: more customers. Shop Small Smyrna will start at the Charter Bank at 3016 Atlanta Road, Smyrna, Georgia, at 10 a.m., where Shop Small shopping bags, other giveaway items, morning beverages, and morning snacks. There's some crepes going to be there, Max. I think you'll enjoy them.
What's that?
Crepes?
I haven't had one of those lately, so.
Okay, you'll enjoy it. And the following businesses are offering specials throughout the day. The new Cafe Lusa is downtown. They are not going to make it. They had a little inspection last week, and they have some more to do. But Going Gear, Opa Greek Village, Tavern, Cielic Blue, Charter Bank, Love Street Gifts, Love Street's Garden Shed, Heart and Soul Boutique, The Bird and Bee, The Tree House, The Wine Cellar, Porchlight Latin Kitchen, Stout Brothers Beer Market, Atkins Park Restaurant and Bar, and Zucca Bar and Pizzeria will all be participating. If you want more information, you can see me later, and I'll be happy to give you more information. But we're so excited to get more people into Smyrna shopping small. Thank you.
So at this time, I'm going to read the proclamation, David. I'm going to come over and hand it to you here in just a second. You can stand right there. So a proclamation by the mayor of the city of Smyrna in recognition of Small Business Saturday, November 25th, 2017. Whereas the government of Smyrna, Georgia celebrates our local small businesses and the contributions they make to our local economy and community. According to the United States Small Business Administration, there are currently 28.8 million small businesses in the United States. They represent 99.7% of all businesses with employees in the United States and are responsible for 63% of all net new jobs created over the past 20 years. And whereas small business employ 48% of the employees in the private sector in the United States, and whereas on average 33% of consumers' holiday shopping will be done at small, independently owned retailers and restaurants, and whereas 91% of all consumers believe that supporting small, independently owned restaurants and bars is important, and whereas 76% of all consumers plan to go to one or more small businesses as part of their holiday shopping, and whereas Smyrna, Georgia supports our local businesses that create jobs, boost our local economy, and preserve our neighborhoods, and whereas advocacy groups as well as public and private organizations across the country have endorsed the Saturday after Thanksgiving as Small Business Saturday, now, therefore, I, A. Max Bacon, Mayor of the City of Smyrna, Georgia, do hereby proclaim November 25th, 2017, as Small Business Saturday, and urge the residents of our community and communities across the country to support small businesses and merchants on Small Business Saturday and throughout the year. It's time.
Thank you, David. Item B under the mayoral report is to recognize the Smyrna Soccer Club's U16 team Benefica. That wasn't right. For finishing the 2017 fall season with an undefeated record of 10-0. I'm going to ask their coaches, Steve McKinley and Mohammed, you think I messed up Benefacto, this is Abuli Nasa. How's that? If you want to come forward and recognize your team.
Thank you. We would just like to say a few words.
You're McKinley, right?
Yes, Steve McKinley.
Abel Nasser.
That's pretty close.
Yeah.
But thank you, Mayor Bacon, distinguished council members. While they're not here, I just want to quickly thank Mike Gaziano of the Smyrna Soccer Club for helping getting the team organized, and Paul Hoffman, who is president of the local referees and who sets the gold standard for all referees. But with the Smyrna Soccer Club Team Benfica, it's made of 18 young men aged 14 to 15. They come from different schools and backgrounds, and many of them have not played on the same team together before. As coaches, our priorities are safety, teamwork, and having fun playing soccer. As the team came together, we were fortunate to see that there were no pre-bananas, no ball hogs or glory hounds, and we felt that we would truly win or lose as a team. At practices, there was a lot of goofing around and jokes, but at game time, we showed them what Smyrna was made of. Through these sons of Smyrna, Team Benfica has a lightning-fast offense, a skilled and powerful midfield, and an iron wall of defense. On average, we scored over 4 goals per game and only allowed 1 goal or less to be scored on us. And this resulted in a rarely achieved undefeated season of 10 straight wins in a row. We were ranked, thank you. We were ranked against 78 teams in Georgia and finished the season as the number 3 team in the state. Thank you. With our undefeated record, we were invited to the invitation-only Triumph Cup tournament, which was held this past weekend at the Wade Walker YMCA Park in Stone Mountain, where we made it to the finals only to lose in a shootout. So we showed that we could hold our own amongst the best of the best in Georgia. So in closing, I believe I speak for the city of Smyrna, Cobb County, Smyrna Soccer Club, all the Team Benfica parents, and Coach Mahmoud and myself, where I say how very proud we are of Team Benfica for their undefeated season and tournament performance. Thank you.
Thank you. Can you introduce your players?
Of course.
Yeah.
We have 12 of them here tonight.
Yeah.
Start over here. Nicholas McKinley. You guys want to
Stand up, yeah.
One at a time.
And which one is it?
Nicholas McKinley. Then we have, I'm forgetting his name. Andrew Ayub. Neil. Yeah. Diego Montoya. We have Aiden. Dominique Morris. Christopher Fields, starting over here. We have Jaden Ramsey. Jacob Peterson. Ethan Ty. Joel McKinney. And Kevin Capula.
So is your season over? Is it just?
Season is over. Tournament was just this past weekend, so we're going to take a break for the holidays.
Well, congratulations on going undefeated. That's doesn't happen very often. And thank y'all for representing Smyrna in such a great fashion.
Our pleasure.
Thank y'all very much. And I like for the family and friends to stand up too. I know there's a lot of people here. I know y'all are proud. Well, thank y'all very much, and I won't get any better in pronouncing names. But, that's what Smyrna's all about. We're a true melting pot, and I think that's something good for us. We have so many different ethnic groups and nationalities that's what makes us who we are. So thank y'all very much for doing all y'all do, and congratulations again. Thank y'all.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here.
Thank y'all. One thing that I always do under the mayor's report, if there's an election, and there is a runoff election, I think December the 5th, for the city council seat, Ward 3, and also a state senate seat. If there's a candidate here, any candidates here that are running for that position that would like to take like 30 seconds to say, I'm so-and-so running for this seat, I will recognize you at this time if you'd like to come up. Okay, there is no one. Okay. We will get into item 4, land issues, zonings, and annexations. Item A, which will be tabled, is 2017-252, public hearing zoning request Z17-013, rezoning from R15 to RAD conditional for the development of 4 single-family residences at a density of 3.39 units per acre, 1.18 acres, land lot 593, 1505, 1515 Spring Street, Neighborhood Commercial LLC. This item will be tabled till December the 18th, 2017. Mr. Doug Stoner, will you please take care of that?
Thank you, Your Honor. At this time, I'm going to make a motion for 4A 2017-252, zoning request Z17-013, rezoning from R15 to RAD conditional for the development of 4 single-family residences at the density of 3.3 units per acre, 1.18 acres, land lot 593 at 1505 and 1515 Spring Street, Neighborhood Commercial LLC. This item will be tabled to the December 18th, 2017 Mayor and Council meeting at the request of the applicant.
I have a motion and a second to table this to December the 18th, 2017. All those in favor of the motion, please vote. That's approved 5-0. Okay. Item B, under land issue zonings and annexations, 2017-358, public hearing zoning request C17-016, rezoning from R15 to RM15, conditional for the development of 59 townhomes, 4.71 acres, land lot 809, 2708, 2720, 2732, 2742, 2754, 2766, 2776, 2788, 2800, and 2812 Bell Drive, the Woodbury Group. Ms. Jones, will you please give the background on that?
Yes, Mayor. Thank you. Good evening, everyone. The Woodbury Group LLC is requesting the rezoning of 59 townhome units from R15 to RM15 conditional, 4.71 acres, land lot 809. This particular agenda item was moved from the September 11th Planning and Zoning meeting to the October 9th, 2017 meeting due to Hurricane Irma. Community development staff is here to give additional background information on this particular item.
This is a public, is the applicant here? Okay. This is a public hearing. Is there anyone here that's in opposition to or that would like to make any public comment concerning the zoning request at this location? Let the record show there is none. This is in Mr. Norton's district. Derek?
Rusty, did you want to talk a little bit about the development?
Yes, thank you. I'll give you a brief summary of what's going on. This zoning request went to the P&Z board on October 9th. It came out of that plan zoning meeting with a recommendation of approval for the 59 units at a density of 12.52 units per acre. As Mayor Bacon stated, the property is located on the west side of Bell Drive. It's the 10 lots from basically from Spring Road all the way up to Afton Downs. There are existing 10 single-family residences with some accessory structures. The applicant is proposing to demolish those 10 residences and build 59 new single-family attached townhome units. That'll require a rezoning from R15 to RM15 conditional. The future land use for the property is urban residential, and that will not change. That's above the 6 units per acre. And this zoning proposal requires 12 units per acre, so that'll remain the same. And just to give you some perspective on the density in relationship to the other townhome developments in the area, Afton Downs, when you take out the right-of-way, they have a density of around 12 units per acre. Falling Waters has a density of around 11 units per acre without the right-of-way. Here's the proposed site plan for the development. I know it's a little tough to see because it's a long linear piece, but we'll go through some of the items here. They're requesting a front setback of 15 foot, north side setback of 20 feet, a south side setback of 10 feet, and then from a proposed roadway through the middle there, setback of 10 feet, and then a rear setback along the western property boundary of 20 feet. as shown in this graphic, the front, the north side, and the south side are all variances, and community development is supportive of those requested variances due to the proposed rear entry design. Within the development, there will be a new private street with a 50-foot public access and utility easement. In addition, staff has requested future dedication of a 50-foot right-of-way through the property that would potentially connect Bell Drive to any redevelopment with the adjoining apartment complex. That is part of maintaining our Spring Road LCI plan. Here's the proposed amenity area, and within that amenity area, there'll be underground detention area. There'll also be 12 guest parking spaces associated with this site plan. And then here are your proposed landscape buffers, a 20-foot landscape buffer on the north and then a 10-foot landscape buffer on the south. In addition to the variances we discussed before, there is an impervious surface area variance to increase the impervious surface area from 50% to 80%, and then a reduction in minimum building separation from 30 feet to 20 feet. The impervious surface area is due to the design of the site, with it being rear entry from the private drive, as well as the building separation is due to staff's request for the future right-of-way dedication through the middle of the site. There are three types of townhome product being proposed for this site. The first being a 22-foot wide by 46-foot deep product. And as you can see on the left-hand side, that shows where those products will be located, and then the elevations reflect what they'll look like. The next type of product is a 26-foot wide product by 46 feet deep, and they are located just south of that roadway in the center. And there'll be 3 buildings of those units as well. And finally, along the western boundary, there'll be a 25-foot wide product with a 50-foot depth, and those are the 5 buildings that run along the western boundary of the property. Here's what the property looks like today. Community Development recommends approval of the requested zoning from R15 to RM15 conditional for a development of 59 units at a density of 12.52 units per acre with conditions. I'm not going to read all the conditions that apply from section 12. They're all listed there. We do have some special conditions. Number 14 are the minimum setbacks that I stated earlier: a front setback of 15, a north side of 20, south side of 10, and a rear of 20. Number 15 establishes the minimum building separations, and that's 20 feet side to side, and a minimum building separation of 50 feet from front to rear. 16 limits the number of units per building to 6. 17 establishes the minimum floor area at 1,800 square feet. 18 requires a minimum driveway length of 22 feet. 19 requires each dwelling unit to have a fire sprinkler system. 20 requires that the rear of the townhome units have architectural elements that make them that delineate the individual townhome units. 21 requires a 5-foot sidewalk along Bell and within the development. 22 requires the 10-foot landscape buffer to the south and the 20-foot landscape buffer to the north. 23 is a requirement for the developer to be responsible for any water and sewer improvements deemed necessary by Public Works Director. 24 is for the developer to be responsible for any fire access improvements deemed necessary by the fire marshal's office. 25 is the requirement for the 50-foot public access and utility easement. 26 prohibits the development from being gated. 27 is the provision for the 50-foot future right-of-way from Bell to the adjoining apartment complex. And 28 is that entrance within that right-of-way be built to city specifications, which is a 26-foot wide street and all the construction specifications that go along with that. 29 requires that the stormwater management facility be located on its own lot. 30 requires street trees every 40 feet. 31 requires the protection of trees within the land disturbance area if they're proposed to be saved. 32 ties the approval of the zoning to the site plan submitted. 33 ties the approval of the zoning to the elevation submitted. And 34 ties the zoning of the property to additional stipulations agreed upon by the applicant. 35, 36, and 37 all have to do with stormwater development and are carryovers from the previous development across the street. With that, I'll be happy to answer any questions for you.
Rusty, what's the price point of these homes? Or maybe the applicant can.
The applicant would be better served to answer that question.
Any questions for Rusty? Thank you, Rusty. You got to hold on.
Yes. Will the homes be, the fronts be facing Bell Drive, and then the fronts of the ones on the west be facing the other way, or will they face
Yes.
that? Okay.
The homes that abut Bell Drive will front on Bell Drive. In the private drive that goes around to the rear, those homes will front on that private drive.
Oh, they will? Okay.
So, but
the
all
backs-
the driveways will be accessed from that new private drive.
Oh, okay.
So the Bell Drive homes will have a rear entry home, and the homes that are along the western boundary will have a front entry home.
Okay, thank you.
Is the applicant here?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor,
Well, evening.
members of the council. For the record, my name is Garvis Sams, and I represent the Woodbury Group concerning this application for rezoning. I have Mr. David Woodbury with me today, or this evening rather, and at the appropriate time, either Mr. Woodbury or I can respond to any questions or address any concerns that you may have. Mr. Martin, as always, has done an excellent job outlining some of the more principal aspects of the zoning, but what I'd like to do is cover a little more. First of all, with respect to our previous appearance, we appeared before the Planning and Zoning Board last month, and we did that after continuing it. A lot of cases were continued because of the hurricane. Ours were continued because, frankly, we wanted to keep the dialogue going with the neighbors, and we think we've done an excellent job. And if you recall, when the other component of this development was heard last year, we had some opposition to it, but we've positioned that such that we've addressed and resolved all the concerns based on that previous rezoning and in connection with this one as well. But your staff has recommended approval, the Planning Commission has recommended approval in a unanimous fashion, and you now have before you some elevations and renderings and a handout that includes that revised site plan, which Mr. Martin referred to, which was submitted along, not so much with the stipulation letter, but an explanation of the tweaks that we did to the site plan with respect to setbacks and some other issues. You recall this was part of the preliminary application that was in the fall of last year. It was an analogous type rezoning of a 3.9 acre tract. Tonight, the property at issue here consists of 4.71 acres located on both sides of Bell Drive, just north of Spring Road. And if you look to the west of the property, you can see there's an apartment complex called Galleria. we have provided by way of the revised site plan, actually the original site plan but the tweaking shows we have interparcel and intraparcel connectivity, both to the rezoning we originally did and to the gallery apartments, not to benefit the gallery apartments so much as what we anticipate will be the future development of that tract. There's a lot of eyes on it, both within your city and economic development and zoning staffs. There's a lot of eyes on it for the developers coming forward. It's a critical piece. We think it's a piece, not just ours, but the gallery apartments, that's going to form the basis and also follow the wonderful halo effect caused by the battery and SunTrust. So I think you're going to see that develop in the future. And so that 50-foot access point you see not only tees up or lines nicely and dovetails into what we propose, but also what your LCI study proposes as well. And kudos to you guys with respect to the Living Centers Initiative study, because what that did was place you as a city in a position that from a regional perspective, planning and governmental agencies look at this corridor differently than they would have, and that's to your advantage. Plus, even more so to your advantage is it gives your planners a template to go by in terms of knowing what you're looking for in terms of density and intensity, particularly as you get closer to the intersections of Cobb Parkway, 285, and the resultant development across the street in unincorporated Cobb County, meaning the Battery and SunTrust. This proposal tonight is consistent with your future land use plan, your comprehensive land use plan, and future land use map. It is over 6 units per acre, which is the target density for this area. It is identical in density to last year's proposal, almost identical. It's consistent, as I mentioned, with that LCI study, which is huge, and provides a superior step down or transition, if you will, going in a northerly fashion from Spring Road through this property all the way to Afton Downs, which there is a council member who lives there, and so we've been making very certain, as we do with all developments, that particularly we made sure that those residents that were there were cognizant of what we're doing. We participated in multiple meetings with the city's staff, not just with last year's, with this one as well. Spoken to area residents. We've also expanded those discussions. We think it's important to have done that with the business owners along Spring Street. I represent another developer that has an 8+ acre site in for annexation and rezoning, which is a development of regional impact. So we've interfaced with that developer as well, although we're standalone compared to what's being proposed there. Originally, there were questions about traffic and trip generation last year with the original rezoning, but you've made the operational improvements to Spring Road that are phenomenal. And with the median and the other operational improvements and the synchronization of signalization, it's amazing what's happened in a year's time, and it's going to be more amazing as you guys watch what's going to happen over the next decade. Not just the Spring Road corridor, but all the way from Cobb Parkway on Spring Road, going all the way back to the city and Spring Road's intersection with Atlanta. Your professional staff has recommended approval. The price points here are going to be someone asked, from the high threes, the 365, 70 and up. With improvements, upgrades, it'll be to the 420, 425, 430 range. The architectural style and composition will be, as we call it, four-sided architecture, which doesn't mean identical architecture on every side, but equal treatment with respect to all the components on all of the sides. We've, or the clerk rather, has handed out to you the architectural renderings and elevations with the square footage ranging from 1,800 to 3,000 square feet, but some of those being bigger, obviously going from 22 footers to 24 footers to 26 footers. You've got houses or townhomes rather that exceed the square footage of single-family detached residences. The driveways will all be a 22 foot in length at a minimum to accommodate 2 cars. The garages rather, will always be there to accommodate 2 additional vehicles. And as you could have seen or did see with respect to the positioning of detention water quality on the site, we have additional guest parking there and at other portions throughout the development as well, to augment the parking that we have provided. We followed all the recommendations of the Public Works Director, which includes the latest revised site plan that was submitted on November the 2nd. The setbacks are specific to what your staff is supportive of and is shown on the revised site plan that you have. We do ask that the Community Development Director and or the Ward Council person be in a position either during, before, or even after the plan review process, because in many circumstances, not knowing what's going to happen with Galleria and other properties nearby is helpful to have administrative latitude to be able to tweak things, and I mean minor modifications, not increasing density, not increasing height, but rather just moving property lines around in the site. So with that being said, we had no opposition at the Planning and Zoning Board level. We have no opposition tonight, and we have staff's recommendation for approval in compliance with the LCI for all those reasons. Mr. Mayor and Mr. Norton, we do ask that the application be approved.
Any questions of Mr. Sams? Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Mr. Norton?
Thank you, Mr. Sams, for being so thorough. Y'all know he gets paid by the word, right? I want to thank Mr. Woodbury for always keeping us in the loop on all of the changes and updates, and you've been very good to work with throughout this process for working with staff. And as they mentioned, this development it'll be a nice complement to what we did on the other side of the street. We've kept in mind the traffic issues that we face, just like on the other side where you've got a cut through that helps all my friends at Galleria Manor get to a light that they needed and helps us in Afton Downs get over to Cumberland. We've got future connectivity planned for this site, which is forward-thinking, and whatever those apartments end up being, if and when they're redeveloped, that'll be a positive for us. So if there's no more discussion, I want to make a motion to approve item 4B, 2017-358, zoning request Z17-016, rezoning from R15 to RM15 conditional for the development of 59 townhome units, 4.71 acres, land lot 809, 2708, 2720, 2732, 2742, 2754, 2766, 2776, 2788, 2800, and 2812 Bell Drive, the Woodbury Group, LLC.
Second.
A motion is second to approve this rezoning request. Is there any other discussion? All those in favor of the motion? That's approved 5-0. Thank you very much. Thank you. Clock out.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Appreciate that. Y'all have a happy Thanksgiving.
That's at
Appreciate it.
7:37. You're off the clock.
My client's here. He's got his watch on.
Item 4C under Land Issues, Zonings, and Annexations, 2017-360. Public hearing zoning request Z17-018, rezoning from FC to RAD conditional for the development of 2 single-family homes, 0.446 acres, land lot 452, 990 Dale Avenue, Kimberly Norwood Properties, LLC. Is the applicant here? Okay, you're good. All right, Ms. Jones, the background.
Kimberly Norwood Properties, LLC is requesting the rezoning from future commercial to RAD conditional for the development of 2 new single-family homes at a density of 4.4 units per acre. This item was moved from the September 11th, 2017 Planning and Zoning Board meeting that was canceled due to Hurricane Irma. This zoning request was heard by the Planning and Zoning Board at the October 9th, 2017 meeting, and it was approved by a vote of 6-0. Community Development recommends approval with conditions.
This would normally go to a council member in Ward 3, but since we don't have a position there, I'll ask that Councilman Doug Stoner take care of this issue. Mr. Stoner.
Thank you, Your Honor. And I think at this time I would ask Rusty to come up and talk a little bit about this rezoning.
Yes, Kimberly Norwood Properties is seeking rezoning for the subject property from future commercial to RAD conditional for 2 new single-family homes at a density of 4.48 units per acre. The Planning and Zoning Board recommended approval of 6-0. You guys make final decision tonight. This property is basically at the corner of the southeast corner of Dell Avenue and Evelyn Street. There's 1 existing home. That home will be demolished and 2 new homes will be built. As you can see, the subject properties to the east and west are future commercial, and then to the north is zoned R15. The future land use map has a medium density residential land use classification. Since the proposed zoning is under 6 units per acre, there'll be no change in that land use classification. Here's the proposed site plan and how the homes will lay on the lot. They'll be oriented towards Dell Drive. They'll both have their own individual driveways, and they'll be front entry homes. With this zoning, there are some specific setbacks, with the front being 25 feet, the interior side being 7 feet, and the street side being 10 feet, and the rear being 30. These are the locations of the proposed stormwater detention facilities. Each lot will have its own facility. And then there will be a 5-foot right-of-way dedication to bring Dell Avenue up to the minimum city standard of 50 feet. And then they are proposing a new sidewalk and connecting that sidewalk to the existing sidewalk on Evelyn that connects to the linear park. Here are the proposed home elevations. Picture of the site. Some adjoining properties, give you some context. Community Development recommends approval of the rezoning from future commercial to RAD conditional for 2 single-family homes at a density of 4.48 units per acre with the following conditions. All the conditions from section 1201, except for 1, 2, 3, 4, 8, 9, 10, 17, because those aren't applicable to individual lot developments. In addition to those standard conditions, we recommend some special conditions. Number 9 are the minimum setbacks that I stated earlier. Number 10 is a minimum driveway length of 22 feet. Number 11 requires right-of-way dedication of 5 feet along Dell. 12 requires the sidewalk along Dell. 13 requires water and sewer taps to be bored under the roadway. Number 14 establishes the requirements for the composition of the homes and the facade materials that are acceptable. Number 15 sets approval of the rezoning to the site plan submitted, and 16 establishes the building elevations as the required elevations for this development. With that, I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions of Rusty? I'm just curious, Rusty, the sidewalk that's on Dale, does that connect to another sidewalk?
No, but it will be the connection. It'll start a connection down Dale Avenue to the linear park. Okay. So Evelyn does have an entrance right there, so this will connect to that, and it can start as it goes east down Dale Avenue.
And I failed to ask if this is a public hearing. Is there anyone here that's in opposition to, or that would like to make any public comment concerning this rezoning request? Let the record show there is none. The applicant, anybody want to get up?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Sean Murphy. I'm here representing the applicant. The applicant has a representative here as well, Rick Kolb. I don't get paid by the minute or by the word like the last guy, so I'll keep it short. You all know, I think we were, Rick and I were here before you, 6 months ago, on 1000 McClendon, which is immediately north of this on the other side of the lot that's directly across the street. with a very similar condition, a corner lot. It's one of the last large lots in that neighborhood, and it's a rental house. So we're here before you hoping to get approval to turn another rental into permanent residence. And one thing that's unique about this lot is because it is adjacent to the entrance to our new linear park, it feels a lot bigger than it even really is. Even though it is one of the larger lots, it also looks bigger because of that extra right-of-way along the sidewalk on the side there. Both houses will front Dell Avenue, and we're basically asking for the same thing that we did at 1000 McClendon Avenue. And if I can answer any questions, that's what I'm here to do.
If you haven't had the opportunity to drive on Dell or McClendon, that community is transforming and it's really looking great, where we've got some of the older houses that are rental property that are now turning into nice homes for folks. So thank y'all for what all y'all are doing. So
I have a question. It was about the sidewalk. So is there a sidewalk on Evelyn now down to the Dell Avenue? That's what.
There's a piece on the 1000 McClendon that they did a few months ago that was the first section of it. So there would have to be another piece put in on a house that we don't own in order to complete that one block. And this would be the first section along Dell. I don't believe there's any houses yet that have sidewalk on Dell, but it would connect directly to the piece that goes through the park. So it would be connected on
but
one end.
there's not one would be on that, the side of the new home that you're talking about either, on the Evelyn side?
One immediately to the west that goes into the park. It comes right into the middle of the park and ties into the sidewalk trails there. Mm-hmm. That one dead ends right there at Evelyn at the roundabout. Or it's not really a roundabout, it's a turn where Evelyn used to go through, and it now turns to the west. There's a stop sign there. And then up at McClendon and Evelyn, there's one section of sidewalk now on the west side of that property.
So people in the neighborhood will be able to walk from your sidewalk to the park on the sidewalk. Okay, that's what I was wondering. Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you. Mr. Stoner?
Thanks, sir. And one clarification I want to make sure everybody heard, because this current property is zoned future commercial, correct? And we're turning it back to residential. So I think that's definitely a positive for that community, instead of having the ability to put commercial at that site. So at this point, I'm going to go ahead and make a motion for Forb C 2017-360, zoning request Z17-018, rezoning from future commercial to RAD conditional for the development of 2 single-family homes on 0.446 acres, land lot 452, 990 Dell Avenue, Kimberly Norwood Properties, LLC.
Second. Have a motion second to approve this rezoning request. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please vote. That's approved 5-0. Thank you very much. Item 5 is privilege licenses. 5 privilege licenses. Item A is LIC 2017-21 public hearing privilege license request. LIC 2017-21 cigar specialty license, beer, wine, liquor pouring, 2997 Cumberland Boulevard, Suite 210. Here we go. Yojama Collective LLC, doing business as Mundur's Cigar Shop, with Samuel Franklin Patterson II as the agent. Ms. Jones, the background, please.
Samuel Patterson II will be the registered agent responsible for the sale of alcohol at the referenced location. Mr. Patterson has been given a copy of the city's alcohol beverage ordinance and attended the mandatory alcohol awareness workshop. Mr. Patterson has agreed to abide by the guidelines set forth by the ordinance governing the sale of alcohol. A background investigation was conducted by the Smyrna Police Department, and it failed to reveal any information that would preclude issuance of this particular license. Staff does recommend approval.
This is a public hearing. Is there anyone here that's in opposition to or would like to make any public comment concerning the issuance of this privilege license? Let the record show there is none. This is Mr. Derek Norton's district. Mr. Norton.
The applicant like to come up, please.
Swear him in.
I do.
Thank you for being here this evening and for doing business in Smyrna. I just want to confirm that you've attended all of the required classes and satisfied all of the requirements in order to serve alcohol in Smyrna.
I have.
And you're aware that the Smyrna Police Department conducts stings from time to time to ensure compliance?
We look forward to it.
Very good. Well, we're couldn't be happier that you're doing business here, and we're glad that we worked out all the details to make it so that you could do that, and I hope you're doing business in Ward 1 for a long time. Any questions you have of us?
No.
Any questions of the applicant? All right, at this point, I'd like to make a motion to approve item 5A, LIC 2017-21.
Second. I'm sorry.
Very good. Thank you.
Got a motion and a second to approve this. Any other discussion? I think this will be our first cigar shop where you can actually sit down and have a glass of an adult beverage, though.
Yes, sir.
Yep.
And it's Ujamaa.
That's close. I got the Patterson right. That was,
Yes, sir. Absolutely, and I appreciate that.
we thank y'all for coming to Smyrna.
Yes,
Any
sir.
other discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please vote. It's approved 5-0. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Item B, LIC 2017-22, public hearing, previous license request, LIC 2017-22, beer pouring, 2995 Atlanta Road, Suite A, 160, Willie's Mexican Grill, Inc., doing business as Willie's Mexican Grill with Terry Green as the agent. I can do that one. The background, Ms. Jones.
Terry Green will be the registered agent responsible for the sale of alcohol at the reference location. Terry Green has been given a copy of the city's alcohol beverage ordinance, and he attended the mandatory alcohol awareness workshop. Mr. Green has agreed to abide by the guidelines set forth in the city's ordinance governing the sale of alcohol. A background investigation was conducted by the Smyrna Police Department, and it failed to reveal any information that would preclude issuance of this particular license. Staff does recommend approval.
Is the applicant here, Terry Green? Okay. This is also a public hearing. Is anyone here that's in opposition to or that would like to make any public comment concerning the issuance of this beer pouring license for Willie's Mexican Grill? Let the record show there is none. This would be in, I guess, Ward 3, since we don't have one. I'll ask Council Member Doug Stoner to take care of this issue. Mr. Stoner.
Thank you, Your Honor. Obviously, we're glad to have Willie's, and I understand this is going to be it's a beer pouring license, but obviously you attended the classes, understand the regulations and how we operate here in the city of Smyrna.
Yes, I do.
Okay. And Mr. Green, as I stated before, as you heard, we do sting operations on occasion to make sure that you're following those regulations, and you do understand that.
That I do.
Okay. Do you have any questions of how we operate or anything that we just mentioned?
All set.
Okay. Well, at this time, unless anybody else has any questions, I'm going to make a motion. I'll make the motion to approve 5B LIC 2017-22, privilege license request LIC 2017-22, beer pouring at 2995 Atlanta Road, Suite A, 160, Willie's Mexican Grill Incorporated, doing business as Willie's Mexicana Grill with Terry Green as the agent.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to approve this beer pouring license for Willie's Mexican Grill. Any other discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please vote. It's approved 5-0, and thank you very much, and we're glad you're in Smyrna. I know you're already open, so when we all start serving beer.
Ooh, hopefully tomorrow.
Come on, okay, good. Good deal. Thank you very much. Item 6 is formal business. A, ordinance 2017-15, public hearing. Approve the amendment to the City of Smyrna Code of Ordinances, Chapter 98, entitled Traffic and Vehicles, to include Section 98-10, prohibiting the use of handheld mobile telephones or portable electronic devices while operating a motor vehicle. I'm going to ask that Derek Norton, who authored this ordinance, to give us the background on that, and then we'll have a public hearing on it.
Well, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I brought this ordinance forward because I've been increasingly concerned about distracted driving in our city and the public safety risk to Smyrna citizens, and ultimately I think that this ordinance will save lives. I'm going to take some time on this, so bear with me. It's an important issue that has generated a lot of discussion in the city. So I'm going to read a portion of our preamble of the ordinance, which is available online on our website in connection with this meeting and the committee of the whole meeting prior to this. The preamble kind of speaks to some of the statistics that have led us to this, and then I'm going to read a section that is kind of the nuts and bolts of what this ordinance does, and then I have some comments about how this ordinance came to be and some of the things that have been discussed and some of the tweaks that we've made over the last few weeks. So, in the preamble, it says, whereas studies show that distracted driving in Georgia is suspected to be greatly underreported in fatal and serious injury collisions, as information pointing to distraction is gathered through self-reporting, witness testimony, and evidence indicating distraction. Even with greatly underreported fatal and serious injury collisions caused by distracted driving, from 2012 to 2015, Georgia has seen a 60% increase in the number of such incidents. From 2009 to 2015, the number of serious injuries from traffic accidents in Georgia increased 55%. Georgia's traffic fatalities rate is higher now than it was before the 2010 law that bans texting while driving. In 2009, Georgia had 1,292 traffic fatalities. In 2016, Georgia had 1,561 traffic fatalities. The rise of the traffic fatalities rate in Georgia is outpacing the national average. 60% of roadway fatalities in Georgia involve drivers failing to maintain their lanes. And now I'm going to go to Section B, which is on the third page of the ordinance that gets down to the nuts and bolts of what this is doing. No person shall, except as otherwise provided in this ordinance, use a mobile telephone or portable electronic device while operating a motor vehicle upon a street or highway unless that device is configured to allow hands-free listening and talking and used in that manner while operating a motor vehicle. So to talk a little bit about the genesis of this ordinance and where we are now, as I walk or bike or drive around the city, I'm alarmed at the number of people who are looking at their phones while behind the wheel rather than concentrating on the road. Just a few weeks ago, I spent most of the day standing at the sidewalk of Atlanta Road over by the community center, pretty much the whole day. And I stopped counting after I observed 500 cars moving by me, holding their phone up like this, looking at that rather than the road. And this Atlanta Road, that's the main thoroughfare to our downtown district. This is an issue that needs to be addressed, and there was even a study committee in the House of Representatives over the summer to look at this problem. The testimony from injured victims, affected families, advocacy groups, and law enforcement was gut-wrenching and compelling. It brought to light how serious this problem is, how devastating the consequences can be, and how the current state law banning texting and driving is unenforceable. So it doesn't address the problem adequately or change behavior. Law enforcement officers from state patrol all the way down to local law enforcement testified at these hearings that if they pull somebody over who they think is texting and that person tells them that they're dialing a number or they're using navigation or whatever it is, then that officer would have to execute a search warrant on that phone to figure out if that person was texting at the exact time that they were pulled over. And they all, from state patrol down to local level, said that they wouldn't do that just to get a fine or issue a ticket. Our own Chief Lee, Police Chief Lee, has said that moving to hands-free rather than the no texting law at the state level make it much easier to enforce. This ordinance seeks to change driver behavior in Smyrna to better protect our citizens. It requires that all cell phone use behind the wheel be hands-free. You can still talk on the phone, use navigation, use your apps, as long as you don't hold the phone in your hand while you're doing that. And that while you're doing that, you're utilizing hands-free technology. We had a lot of feedback over the last few weeks on this ordinance and have made several changes to address citizen concerns. We added the ability to answer a call, initialize GPS or an app with one touch. So, for instance, if a call comes in and you've got your phone on a vent clip phone holder or on the dash, you get a call, you can hit a button to answer your phone, or you can hit a button to initialize GPS, or you can hit a button to initialize an app, as long as you use it hands-free after that. It's no different than hitting a button on your radio to change channels, and that was actually an example that was brought to our attention, and so we tried to fix the ordinance to accommodate that. This ordinance would not go into effect until January 1st, which allows the opportunity to put markers up at city limits, let people know that when they're entering this city, they're entering a hands-free zone, and allows time to educate Smyrna citizens about the new law. And I'll tell you that in discussions with our Chief Lee, he has said that the first 30 to 60 days, even after this goes into effect, he and his team would mainly be issuing warnings rather than tickets to allow time for drivers to get used to this new law. And in fact, the police department has purchased hundreds of the vent clip phone holders. They got the nice Smyrna logo on them that they want to distribute as the first 30 to 60 days after it's implemented. If a driver's pulled over for having their phone in their hand, they don't know about the law, they don't have a way to affix it to their car, they're going to be distributing these to drivers in Smyrna. And it should be noted, too, that the city is also creating an educational video that will be on the city website and distributed to citizens as part of our educational effort. There's a lot of discussion about what the fine for the offense would be, and so we capped it at $150 for an offense, even though the state law, the fine for no texting at the state level, is set at $150. That's an important distinction. We're setting the cap as high as it can go, rather than setting it directly at $150. And this gives our judge discretion and allows her to assign a lesser fine and maybe add some traffic school component if that was appropriate in her view. And Smyrna's got a fantastic traffic school where distracted driving is an important component of that. We also made this a temporary 2-year ordinance, at the end of which we'll look at the data and statistics and see if it's having the desired effect, if it actually is changing behavior, and we're having less instances of distracted driving here in Smyrna, and we'll reevaluate at that time. I'll say that some critics have accused us of putting this forward as a revenue generator or a money grab, and I want to take a minute to address that. I want to make it clear that when I was thinking about this ordinance, that thought, revenue generation, never entered my mind. That's not at all what we're trying to do, and I think the fact that we capped the fine level for the offense makes that further clear. We're rather trying to make our streets in Smyrna safer by changing driver behavior. What we want to do is get drivers' focus and eyes off their phone and on the road where they need to be. And while we'll be the first city in the state to enact a hands-free law, this is not something new. We're not inventing the wheel. 14 states already do this, and over 100 cities across the country have enacted hands-free policies. And as I mentioned, the State House Study Committee on this topic, they're looking at this problem, but there's no guarantee that anything would be introduced at the State House this year, and even if it is, the political climate with the statewide election, there's no guarantee that it would pass. I have a wife, a 2-year-old daughter, and a 10-month-old son who were here earlier, but it's gone long and they've gone home now. But I'd hate for a tragic accident to happen to my family or to yours at the hands of a distracted driver when we could have done something to help prevent it. I want to say that we have with us tonight families who have experienced unimaginable loss because of distracted driving, and I appreciate them making the effort to be here tonight. I want to invite them up to speak, and I'm going to first invite, and I know we have to...
Well, hold on, we're going to have a public hearing, so if anyone who would like to speak on this issue, we'd like to get them up to be sworn in all at the same time. So if you want to make a comment about this, you can come up at this time. Scott, you're going to administer the oath. So anybody that would like to speak on this issue, please come forward at this time. All right, if y'all have a seat. And whoever the first speaker wants to be.
I'd like to invite Kathy Haley, and Craig Clark to come up and speak first, please.
Little. I'm Craig Clark, my wife Kathy and Haley. I grew up in Smyrna. I lived here and in this area all my life. I graduated from Campbell High School in 1983 with Doug, so it's good to see Doug. And our family was directly affected by a distracted driver. 2 years ago, we lost our daughter, Emily Clark. She was one of 5 Georgia Southern nursing students who were on Interstate 16 headed to their last day of clinical rotations. And at 5:40 in the morning, she was rear-ended by a tractor-trailer doing 70 miles per hour, who never hit his brakes, who never swerved to miss the car, as they sat dead still in traffic. Their car wasn't moving. They were in about a 1.5 mile long line of traffic on the interstate that had stopped earlier for an accident that had happened earlier in the morning. And as they sat there, they were rear-ended by this truck. Her and 4 others of their classmates lost their lives that day. Changed our lives forever. At the time of the accident, the tractor-trailer driver said that he was not asleep, but he was distracted. And he's never actually said what he was doing there in that time, but we know that he was doing anything but watching the road for almost a mile before he struck the back of Emily's car. So this bill is near and dear to our hearts. I am proud of the city of Smyrna. My parents still live in the city. My dad actually worked for the city for a period of time as a city annex coordinator.
Oh, Bill Clark. Yeah.
Yes, sir. So the city is doing a great thing here. I'm glad and happy to see that y'all are making the roads safer for our family, for my parents, and for our neighbors. It only takes a minute. We never thought that we would be here. Nobody ever thinks that bad things are going to happen to their family, and that's the way we were before this tragedy. But it only takes a second for your life to be changed forever. And it's even more real as you come upon the holidays and you look at that empty seat. So I really encourage you guys to move forward with this. If it just saves one life, it's worth whatever inconvenience people think they may have for this bill. And I think this is a step in the right direction, and I would love to see it go even further. I hope that other cities in the state will follow the example that you guys are trying to set. And I'm proud to say that I'm from Smyrna. And thank you for this. Kathy?
I know. I think that he summed it up, and like he said, we'd like to thank the city of Smyrna for this. Like, can't imagine how difficult it can be to lose a child to distracted driving.
Why do you think the state hasn't adopted a statewide? I mean, it'd be so easy to do where it'd just be statewide rather than. And I basically support in principle the hands-free deal, but it'd be a lot easier. The state's usually telling us what to do anyway, and it'd be statewide. Do y'all have any knowledge or reason why you think the state has not passed this?
I think that a lot of times it's not, people don't think it's as important as it is, as it can save lives, and it can change somebody's life. In that one split second, you've changed so many people's lives. And I think that's it's a hard thing for people to see that until it happens to them.
And I agree. I think I would love to see the state do something. I know that there's some movement in the state to try to do more around distracted driving, and Kathy testified at another hearing with one of the state representatives who's pushing for a measure. But oftentimes it may be easier to generate a groundswell at the local levels and at your cities and county levels. And if we need to, we'll work hard to do that as well, just because we don't want another family to, stand here and experience what we've experienced. No parent should have to bury their child or any loved one due to someone being distracted. And we love our technology, and but for that one text message, it can change your life forever.
Thank y'all for your comments.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for being here.
Anyone else that was sworn in?
Miss Mandy Sorahan.
Hi, my name is Mandy Sorahan, and I am also here to speak about my loved one.
And man, where do you live? Where do you reside?
I live in Rutledge, Georgia,
I sort of know where that's at.
right beside Madison. Okay. Everybody knows where Madison is. This is Caleb. This is my son, and he was a sweet kid, followed all the rules, and if he didn't, he would tell on himself. He was just the happiest, most loving kid you would ever meet. In 2009, he had a really big year. He graduated high school, he started college, he turned 18, and he also died that year. He was home for his winter break from college. He had just finished his first semester, and he was going to go Christmas shopping with a friend in Athens. This was on December the 16th. He and his friend were texting back and forth about where they were and where they were going to meet. And as Caleb was looking down at his phone, he swerved into the other lane and hit another vehicle head on. It killed him instantly. This is a picture of the accident. And this is Caleb's car. And if you're a parent and you look at a car like that, it's devastating. And like they said, it changed our life forever. Our family will never be the same. Like they said, the holidays are coming up. It just doesn't get easier. There's always that empty chair, and you always are thinking about that loved one. So in 2010, we, as a family, decided we wanted to do something. We were approached by a member of our church who said there were some bills on passing a law to make it illegal to text and drive in Georgia. And so we put our story with those bills, and my daughter and a group of high school students lobbied. They went many times to the Capitol and lobbied to get this law passed. And in 2010, it was passed into Caleb's Law. And our main thought with that was to educate people of the dangers of texting and driving. It wasn't for the revenue or anything like that. We just wanted people to understand how easily it can happen and how dangerous it is. We didn't want another family to go through what we were going through. And we just had no idea that it would just continue to get worse. And like Derek said, you look around you as you're walking, driving, there are so many people in their cars that are using their phones. And you probably all know somebody who is part of the problem. People don't believe that very important phone call or that very important text message has a very real possibility of killing someone or themselves. And it only takes seconds. And I really would like you to consider that if you do use your phone behind the wheel. It's definitely not worth someone's life. But it's not just the text messages and the phone calls. There's Snapchat, Twitter, Facebook. People are constantly taking selfies behind the wheel. If you get on these forums, you can see people document their lives behind the wheel. And it's unfortunate that the law that we got passed is not working. Everybody has this "it won't happen to me" mentality in our society. And it can very easily happen to any one of us. And I feel like it's past time for more changes to our laws in Georgia. It's past time to help our law officers enforce the law. And it's past time to make our roads safer for our loved ones. And when you lose someone to a distracted driving accident, you realize how unimportant those calls and texts really are, and they are not worth a life. So passing this ordinance, in my opinion, could be the beginning of making big changes in our state and making our roads safer for all of our loved ones.
Thank you very much for your comments. Anyone else that was sworn in that wanted to give testimony? Yes, ma'am.
Hi, my name is Jenny Hardy, and I live actually in Johns Creek, Georgia. And I am passionate and committed to everything having to do with highway safety. And it became a focus of mine when our family was involved in a violent car crash. When our family was traveling on a quiet little rural road in South Georgia, and there was an SUV that was coming towards us, and there was a logging truck that was crossing over the quiet two-lane rural road. And there was a stop sign for the logging truck, and there were 2 rumble strips for the logging truck. But that logging truck blew through the intersection, ignoring the stop sign, ignoring the rumble strips, and he hit the tail end of that SUV. And the SUV lost control, and he was on his 2 left-hand tires and literally shaved off the whole left-hand side of our van when he hit us. The sliding door on the driver's side was thrown 30 yards in the opposite direction. Our van spun around 2 times, and we ended up in a deep ravine along the side of the road, so deep that you couldn't see our van from the side of the road. Was that logging truck driver distracted? Was he on a phone? Was he texting? Was he drunk? You see, we'll never know. He left the scene of the crash. He was never found, never identified. So our crash has always been classified as a hit and run. Our youngest daughter, Madison, survived but sustained the most serious of injuries. She had to endure multiple surgeries to put herself back together. She was 5 years old at the time of our crash, and at the time she was riding in a booster seat, and it gave her a fighting chance to survive our car crash. And within months of putting her back together, I thought we were following the law in Georgia at that time. But in fact, the law in Georgia at that time was weak, and I was following other states' laws that were strong and were protecting children. So I found myself a mama on a mission, and I approached my state representative, who at the time was Mark Burkhalter, and I told him that the law was weak in Georgia and we need to do something about it. So I spent 2 years down at the state capitol pushing and working to pass a booster seat law to protect the children of Georgia. And today now, the law in Georgia protects the children up until the age of 8 that require the children to be riding in a car seat or a booster seat, and that law is named after my daughter, Madison. And now my efforts have changed and are now focused on this distracted driving issue that is becoming an epidemic in our state. Every day I get an email from the Governor's Office of Highway Safety, and it's the fatality report in Georgia. 1,348. That's the number that arrived in my email today. I dread getting this email every day. That's the number, 1,348 that showed up today. That's the number of lives that have been lost today because of the roads, because of the deaths that have happened on our roads today. 1,348. Some people will say that's a statistic. I say those are people. Those are lives. Those are mommies and daddies and children. Those are your constituents. Those are people that will not be at the Thanksgiving table on Thursday. And those are people whose lives could have been saved and should have been saved, and they were lost because of somebody else's careless and selfish actions, because somebody else chose to either drive distracted, drive drunk, veer off into their, cross over to the center median. And these kinds of actions must be stopped. And you have the opportunity to do something right and to save lives. And you must take that action tonight and vote for this ordinance that Council Member Norton has put forth, and to save lives and to do the right thing in the city of Smyrna. So I appreciate your efforts and I commend them. And I support this effort not only based on my own personal experience, but I'm also a member of the AAA Board of Directors, and we support those efforts and saving lives. I am also the Community Relations Director and the I Ride Safe Program Director for the law firm of Mottlick and Associates, and David Mottlick and the entire firm support these efforts as well. So I appreciate the time this evening, Mr. Mayor, and the council members as well.
I will ask you the same question I asked the first speaker, and that's, why don't you think the state has passed the same thing that we're looking at tonight?
Well, as Councilmember Norton said, the state has put together the study committee, and I have been president each one of the study committee meetings. I hope that they will draft a bill that will be put into the hopper in January. You know, a lot of times in the House and, you know, down at the Capitol, they have to wait for the right, you know, temperature in the, you know, atmosphere of the Capitol in order to, you know, make sure that it'll vote, you know, and pass, because of course every time you open up a bill, you know, you could walk away with less than what you started with. So they want to make sure, you know, that the temperature is right and that you come away with, you know, a strong bill and a strong law and not walk away with something less than what you started with. So hopefully, you know, the stars are aligned and we will push forward with this.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else that was sworn in? Yes.
My name is Kyle Kirkman. I've been a resident of Smyrna about 10 years. On October 16th last year, my sister was killed by someone on Highway 41. Ran a red light, distracted driving. It was around dusk. I empathize with where you're coming from, Mayor. I'm all for a law. I'm all for something being passed. My frustration is the enforcement of the laws. All these things are great. We're going to stop the distracted driving. But my frustration is the gentleman who killed my sister faced no charges. He ran a red light. He admitted to it. He hired the right attorney who got him out from underneath it. My sister is now dead. It's the last living relative I have. I'm left with no one now. So again, my frustration is what yours is. How do we enforce this? I'm all for passing a law, but if we're not going to enforce it and we're just going to let the guy who has a little bit more money be able to buy his way out of it, I'm sorry, I'm against it. I'm 100% against it. It means nothing unless we're willing, you guys and the police are willing to enforce the laws. How that is, I don't know. I'm not that smart. That's what we put you guys in power for. Why the state hasn't done it, I personally believe what the young woman just said a second ago. It's not the right temperature. It's not the right climate. Well, I'm all for it if you guys are willing to make strict laws, but my fear is that it's going to be like everything else that the state does, and I apologize, and what the city has done is it's a feel-good thing. At the time, right now, it makes us all feel good. But unless we're willing to enforce it, I'm against it. My condolences to everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor, can I make a comment? Yeah. I just want to say, before I brought this ordinance forward, I had a discussion with Chief Lee, and I said, you know, here's the issues we're dealing with. The no texting state law is difficult to enforce now. Technology has come a long way. There's a lot of people doing a lot of different things. This will make it cut and dry. It's in your hand. You could get a ticket. And he said that would make it immensely easier, and he is committed to enforcing it. And he not only said that in that conversation, but he also said it in the committee meeting, our work session meeting, where he was asked that specific question. And so I commit to you, if we do pass this, it will be enforced by our police department.
Okay. Anyone else that was sworn in like to give testimony? Okay. All right.
I'm Ann Turner. I'm a resident of the city of Austell, not Smyrna. I'm here wearing leather. It isn't black, but I am a motorcyclist. We are a vulnerable section of the road users. We are frequently forced off the road by people in cages, small cages, big cages, long cages, and short cages. They don't see us. We do not represent a threat to a cage. Neither does a bicyclist. They have more rights on the road than we. This, as the gentleman before me said, is a feel-good measure. It's a good idea. But as he said, how do you enforce it? If it's in your hand, you're using it. Therefore, you're doing something illegal. Okay, I understand that. How do we approach the law enforcement personnel who are not always static when they're using their devices with their right hands as they're driving down the road? Who is going to correct them? This distracted driving is a problem for us on two wheels. There have been something like 81% of the crashes in, I'm not sure whether it's the state or federally, nationally, have been due to distracted drivers. And of that number, well over half, I think the other number was 58%, involved people on two wheels. It's killing us. It's killing your people too. What happened to driver education? 40 years with no driver education has produced people behind the wheel with, most of them have licenses, some of them don't, some of them have no insurance. They have no idea they are driving bombs, 1-ton weapons. And unfortunately, we on two wheels are frequently the targets. They don't see us. I'd like something to be done. I think your hands-free is a good beginning. Where it goes from here and how it goes through the state, I don't have a clue. If it will go through the state, I'm not sure. It should, but as these other people have said, how will it be enforced? Will the penalty be strong enough and hit people where it hurts them the most, in their pocketbooks? Will it be strong enough to deter people from using their devices with their fingers and in front of their faces? Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Bill Strickland, Lexington Trace Drive, Smyrna, Georgia. I lived in this city for 18 years. I was driving up I-85 about Jimmy Carter. What I see in the left lane, the guy's driving like this. This is on the highway. This happens in Smyrna. I am so thrilled when I heard about this, I couldn't believe it. Because too many people take their phone and they're either texting, and I'm guilty of it. I got pulled over by a state patrolman. I was on 75. Traffic was stopped. I said, well, I'll just toot it in real quick. Didn't see him, didn't look for him. Pulled me over. Thing about it is that he could see me because I was stopped. If I was going down the highway, he couldn't have told. It was a person's name, I couldn't have done it. Usually I do it voice. This is something we have to stop. We had a major accident on Spring Road. Was the driver texting? Was the driver using his cell phone? I don't know. We don't need to have that. I'm already worried about people running red lights. When they tear up Windy Hill and they start coming through Smyrna because you're coming on Spring Road because Windy Hill's going to be messed up. We have more and more road accidents we've ever had because we have more traffic. People are speeding all over the city. One more distraction with your cell phone is something we don't need. If you don't have Bluetooth, well, maybe it's time to go out and buy it. You say, well, I can't find out where my road's going. I've driven all over North Georgia when I was governor for Rotary International. And I had 73 places. My GPS using Google told me every turn I needed. Why can't we pull over on the side of the road when we need to get a directions for my GPS? Years ago when we had the bricks, I remember people said, in the company I worked for, pull over on the side of the road. Do not talk on your cell phone when you're driving. Those days are long gone. If you have to put your GPS in, pull over. What's 5 more minutes? Or if you're taking a client out for real estate, give them the phone. Wouldn't they be more respectful of you than getting you and them hit? This is something we need to take care of. I am so thrilled that Smyrna's starting this. I cannot wait till the state does it. You want to know why the state's doing it? I think they're chicken. I think that the representatives and the senators are, well, you know what? That's going to make somebody unhappy. We know it's time to make somebody unhappy because these people who have lost loved ones will never be able to see them again. And like I said, it's happened in Smyrna, And every one of us driving Smyrna, how often do you see somebody with a cell phone? Now, the city's great about stopping people at four-way stops and checking to make sure they've got seat belts on. They'll do a stop there. Why can't we have a policeman, say, at the corner of Spring and Jonquil and watch for people, and if they have the cell phone, guy in the red car, pull him over. This is something we've got to stop, and I'm so proud the City Council is bringing us up to vote tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else that was sworn in? All right, we'll close that portion of the public hearing. Mr. Norton? Oh, yeah, Ms. Bluestein.
Derek was talking, he said that this was going to take effect January 1st. That's not true. If we wait till in January to actually vote on it.
And what we had talked about earlier was we only got 5 council members here tonight after 7, out of 7. And I would prefer that we have all 7 council members here. And that would be at the earliest December 18th for us to adopt it, or the first meeting in January. I just think it's important that we also make sure that the public knows what's going on, and our citizens in Smyrna know through either another public hearing that would be specifically for this, so that they'll know what we're doing. I think that's important. You know, I support the ordinance as it's written. I just want to make sure that our citizens know about it. We will be the first city, the first government in the state to enact this type of hands-free law, and I just think it's important we make sure everybody knows what's going on. And there'll be some folks that will not be for it, but I agree with the gentleman that spoke, the next to last speaker. And I wish Chief Lee was here, because if we're going to enact it and pass this ordinance, then we better be able to enforce it, and not just do it and then don't ever enforce it. So we need to make sure of that. And I know that the chief is committed that his men will enforce the ordinance, but I personally would prefer that we wait till we get 7 council members here.
But may I say one other thing?
Mm-hmm.
You can write laws all day long. Unless you change the attitudes of the people who are driving the cars, doing all this crazy stuff, it's not going to work in the long run. I mean, one of the things that I wanted very much is for our public relations officer to go over and speak to the students at Campbell High School. They're young, they're probably a little bit distracted drivers, maybe not, but they have parents, and they see their parent doing something. I'd like to see them call the parent out and say, you know, that really wasn't what you should be doing. You know, so it's a learning process, though. It's not something that's going to be cleared up overnight, unfortunately. So.
But to Andrea's point, I mean, this is the reason for this proposal, is to change behavior and to start moving in that direction. And to her point about educating kids at the high school has been discussed. You know, just like they have DUI simulators, they also have distracted driving simulators, and working with some groups to have those out at Campbell and other schools is a really good idea. You know, the mayor and council discussed in pre-council meeting about moving this vote, and I'm fine with that. It'll give opportunity for more public input, which has been a very constructive process, very good, a lot of input, and you know, the special election is December 5th to replace Terry Unalowitz on the Ward 3, and so we'll have a full council. We can have another public hearing and take a vote on it then. But I want to say thank you so much to all of you who were here, and to the families that provided comment today, and thank you. Really appreciate the effort to be here, and I know that's not an easy thing to do. So.
Okay. And there'll be no action on that particular issue under formal business. Item 6B is 2017-441, approval of the final FY 2017 budget amendment. Ms. Jones, the background, please.
An annual audit of the city's financial statements is required at the conclusion of the fiscal year. In order to close out the year and finalize the financial statements, final adjustments to the budget need to be made to various transactions. In addition, the 2011 and 2016 SPLOS budgets need to be amended to reflect the most current information. Staff does recommend approval of the budget amendment, and our Finance Director, Kristen Robinson, is here in case there are additional questions.
All right, this falls under Mr. Nuss. It would fall under Mr. Fennell. He's not here, but I'm going to ask that Councilmember Norton take care of this issue.
And I'll recognize our Finance Director, Kristen Robinson, to take care of this issue.
Like Tammy said, this is just normal. I apologize for my voice. I'm sick tonight. This is normal. What we do at the close of every financial audit, we go in and we true up some of the accounts that we need to true up to issue our financial statements. So this year's amendment is less than it's been in the past, which is an encouraging move forward. And if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
Anyone have any questions concerning this? This is not a public hearing, it's just what we do annually. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
And like Kristen said, this is the amount that had to be adjusted was less than in previous years. So thank you to staff for all your work and putting that together. If there's no other questions, I'm going to make a motion to approve item 6B, 2017-441, approve final fiscal year 2017 budget amendment.
I got a motion and a second to approve the final FY 2017 budget amendments. Is there any other discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please vote. It's approved 5-0. Item C, 2017-443 is approval of a general services contract between the City of Smyrna and Crowe Engineering for professional services for project management. Ms. Jones, the background, please.
The Council Finance and Administration Committee discussed the need for a general services contract with Crowe Engineering. The city currently has a contract with Crowe Engineering for SPLOST program management, but there is not a contract in place for other services provided by Crowe Engineering to the city. This contract is considered a professional service, therefore it is exempt from state purchasing regulations. The proposed contract was reviewed by the Finance and Administration Committee at its November 14th meeting. The committee and city staff does recommend approval.
Mr. Corky Welch, Chairman of the Public Works Committee. Sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I guess I sort of brought this up initially, but we work with Crowe on our SPLOST, and they do an exemplary job for us. I'm very happy with their services. They do a good job of everything that I see, provide us with a good amount of detail that we need as a council to make decisions on a day-to-day basis. With that, I'd like to make a motion to approve item number 2017-443, approval of general services contract between the City of Smyrna and Crowe Engineering for professional services for project management.
A motion is second. Is there any discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please vote. That's approved 5-0. Item D, 2017-451, authorize the acquisition of real property by all lawful means for the improvements to Windy Hill Road. This authorization includes adopting a resolution and declaration of taking for each parcel. Ms. Jones, the background, please.
This is a authorization for the acquisition of real property by all lawful means for improvements to Windy Hill Road. This authorization includes adopting a ordinance and declaration of taking, if necessary, for parcels that are not purchased through negotiated sale. The property is situated adjacent to the existing right-of-way and within an area stretching from the intersection of Atlanta Road to the intersection of South Cobb Drive. The addresses are as follows: 865 Cherokee Trail, 861 Cherokee Trail, 743 Windy Hill Road, 997 Windy Hill Road, and 925 Windy Hill Road. Staff does recommend approval.
Mr. Derek Norton.
Does anybody have any questions on this item? Any discussion? If not, I'll make a motion to approve item 6D, 2017-451, authorize the acquisition of real property by all lawful means for improvements to Windy Hill. This authorization includes adopting a resolution and declaration of taking for each parcel.
Motion is second. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion? That's approved 4-1. Ms. Wilkinson votes in the negative. Item 7 is commercial building permits. We have none. Item 8 is the consent agenda. Ms. Jones, will you please read the consent agenda for council's approval?
The consent agenda reads as follows. Item A, approval of the November 6, 2017 mayor and council meeting minutes. Item B, approval of the November 6, 2017 pre-council meeting minutes. Item C, approval of the November 2nd committee of the whole meeting minutes. Item D, approval of workers' compensation coverage for Smyrna Police Reserve officers. Item E, approval of award RFP 18-004, demolition and asbestos abatement for 575 Windy Hill Road to the lowest bidder, complete demolition services for $47,000, and authorize the mayor to execute any related documents. Item F, approval of the installation of no parking signs along Corn Road as determined by the city engineer. Item G, appointment of Scott Andrews as an alternate member for the License and Variance Board. And item E, authorize Atkins Park Tavern to operate a beer, wine, specialty, 2-item cocktail station beyond the boundaries of the premises of Atkins Park Tavern, covered by the license at the Smyrna Ugly Christmas Sweater Block Party and Movie Night event in the downtown area, Saturday, December 9th, 2017, 5:30 p.m. until 9 p.m., at an assigned vendor space within the approved event. The exact location of the cocktail drink station is to be within the food service area for the event from West Spring Street to Village Green Traffic Circle and from Village Walk, Bank Street to Keene Street Southeast. Streets closed during the event will be King Street in front of the Veterans Memorial, from Bank Street to Village Green Circle in front of the community center.
I'll entertain a motion to approve item A through H, excluding item E. We'll vote on item E by itself. So if somebody make a motion to approve item A through H without E.
I move to approve items on consent agenda, 8, items A, B, C, D, F, G, and H.
All right, got a motion on that. Can I get a second? All right, did anybody second it? Okay. Andrew Blueston, okay. All those in favor of the motion, please vote. It's approved 5-0. Now we'll vote separately on item E, 2017-440. That's award RFP 18004, demolition and asbestos abatement of 575 Windy Hill Road to the lowest bidder, complete demolition services, $47,000, authorize the mayor to execute any related documents. You get a motion to approve that item.
Second.
Motion is second to approve this item. All those in favor of the motion, please vote. It's approved 4-1 with Mr. Wilkinson voting in the negative. We'll start committee reports. We'll start tonight with Mr. Derek Norton.
No report this evening, Your Honor.
Ms.
Thank you.
Andrea Bluestein.
I just want to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving and a safe Thanksgiving, and we'll see you in end of November or December. I guess next December next.
All right, thank you. Corky Welch.
No report this evening.
Susan Wilkinson.
Thank you, Your Honor. I have a lot of things to report, both from the library and the Parks and Recreation Department. Starting with the library, there is a Lego show on Saturday, December the 2nd, from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m., and on Sunday, December the 3rd, from 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. And the Friends of the Smyrna Library and the Dixie Lego Users Group are co-hosting a Lego exhibit at Smyrna Library during the first weekend of December. The exhibit includes elaborate displays of street scenes, moving trains, and models of different types of vehicles, all made of Legos. This is a fundraiser for the library, and the tickets will be sold at the door for $5 for an individual and $10 for a family. And the exhibit is going to be in the meeting room in the library. And also, I want to let everyone know that the Friends of the Smyrna Library are hosting their annual holiday party at the library on Saturday, December the 9th from 6:30 to 8:30. They will have refreshments, live music from Pebblebrook High School Orchestra, and holiday merchandise for sale. If you are a friend of Smyrna Library or interested in becoming a member, please join them on December the 9th, and that's from 6:30 to 8:30. And with that said, I also want to let everyone know about several things that are going on with the Parks and Recreation Department as well. So on Tuesday, November the 28th, and this is the annual tree lighting in the downtown, and they call it Coming Home for the Holidays. And that will be from 5 p.m. to 9 p.m., and it'll be in the Smyrna Community Center and on the Village Green. And if you haven't been to that before, I would encourage you to come. It's very cool event, and a lot of children there, and a lot of singing going on. And I believe there's a parade. Is there going to be the parade this year as well that they do around the? Okay, and then the parade. So. Okay, and that is on Tuesday, November 28th. Then on Monday, December the 4th, there is going to be a ribbon cutting for the Rose Garden Park, and that is the time for that is going to be announced. And then on Saturday, December the 9th, there's going to be an ugly sweater event. And they're going to show a movie, and the National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation movie. And that is going to be at the lawn right there beside the library, between there and the Veterans Memorial. And that will be at 5:30 on December the 9th. On Friday, December the 15th, is Christmas at Bronner Hall, and it's a coat drive. And they also are going to have a movie. It's a Wonderful Life movie, and that'll be at 5 p.m., and that'll be at Bronner Hall and the amphitheater. So, and if you're interested in any of these things, I encourage you to also look on the website, because there are a lot of things. And then on Saturday, December the 16th, there is Brunch with the Big Guy at 9 a.m. at the Smyrna Community Center. And with that, I yield.
Mr. Doug Stoner.
No report, Your Honor.
Ms. Jones, anything else? No. Mr. Andrews, anything? Mr. Cochran? Ms. Graham?
Yes, I'd like to just let everyone know that we will be having a runoff for our special election December the 5th. Advanced voting begins November the 27th and runs through December the 1st. Voting will be held at the main office on Whitlock Avenue, where Cobb Elections is, and also at the Smyrna Community Center. Our Ward 3 seat is vacant, and that seat will be up for vote during this time. There will be no voting on Monday, December the 4th, and then Election Day is December the 5th.
And the polls were open from 7 to 7, is that correct?
On
The
Election
5th.
Day, yes.
Yes, okay, all right. Okay, thank you. We do not have a show cause hearing, citizens input. We got several people that have signed up. Alec Backery, 3459 Shawnee Trail, comments?
I'd like to open, I didn't hear anything tonight on a request I made in the past council meetings on having a city town hall meeting on this Windy Hill issue. Now, this is $42 million, and Mayor, you haven't had called for a citizens city town hall meeting. I want to remind this council that the park bond was $22 million, and we had a referendum. This is $42 million, and I've talked to a lot of people. They have no idea what is going to happen and how that's going down on Windy Hill from South Cobb to Atlanta Road. And when they hear $42 million, I find this absolutely outrageous pricing of taxpayer money that to me could be used for better purposes like sidewalks and side streets than $42 million for 8/10 of a mile. But for open government, you have to have feedback from the people and have their input on how they see their money being spent. This has not happened. And if this council, I was told last week the project won't start till the spring, yet 2 or 3 buildings have been knocked down. For $42 million, this is not an example of open government and the way democracy works. And I hope that in the near future, Mayor, you have call a city town hall meeting for people to come and ask questions. It's important to know. And speaking of having city town hall meetings, Mayor, you haven't had one in 10 years. I find this to be a pathetic record. It's time to get the people out to ask questions and encourage them on input on what is going on with their money. And this $42 million has not happened. My second comment, since you're all on safety, I feel the police department is not doing enough when it rains out that people have the headlights off. I cannot believe the number of people that I see, especially in dark cars. It is a state law, and I'd love to see the city put some more teeth into having their police officers enforce rainy days with headlights. I've had a lot of close calls, and I think it's a tremendous negligence of not enforcing the state law, and the city could do something more. I'm sure you've all seen people driving around with no headlights on. I've had a couple close calls myself. It's very dangerous, and I hope you can work with the police department. I know a couple of them that do enforce it, but overall, they do not. And I think this is an important safety issue also. Thank you.
Tim Wrigglestick, 1115 Pinehurst Drive, budget is his topic.
I just want to yield back. The questions I had have been in.
Okay. Thank you. Ann F. Turner, she may have spoken earlier, 5415 Austell Powder Springs Road, Austell, hands-free. She may have spoke. Okay. Monica Delaney, 1325 Riverside Parkway, looks like 9-1, Austell, Georgia, evictions in Cobb County.
Yes.
It's our topic.
Thank you. It's Monica Delancey, but thank you for allowing me to speak tonight. Cobb County is currently undergoing an uptick of evictions of residents who reside in rental properties. The metro Atlanta area is ranked third in the nation for evictions. African Americans and women are the most affected from evictions, and our children suffer the most. Schools that are low performing continue to struggle in communities where the attendance zone is 30% or more rental properties. In addition, the vast majority of rental properties are comprised of residents whose income is less than $20,000 a year. The average cost of a 2-bedroom apartment is between $700 to $900 a month. This means that the majority of these low-wage and often non-salaried renters are paying more than 30% of their income on rent. If a person is working an entry-level job, such as being a janitor or a secretary at some of our bigger institutions in Cobb County, like the Cobb County School District or Wellstar, or even Six Flags Amusement Park, they're paying more than 30% of their income on rent. To bring clarity about evictions in Cobb County is a process that is swift. For example, most corporate managed multifamily apartment complexes requires rental payments due by the 3rd of each month. Anytime after the 3rd, the apartment complex will add late fees and also file a dispensary warrant. Once the warrant is issued, the time frame for the unit to be evicted is about between 4 to 6 weeks. In the majority of cases, evictions due to non-payment of rent occur due to the loss of income, such as Social Security benefits, decrease in hours of work, financial emergencies, such as illnesses or employee layoffs. There is no leeway given to renters under any circumstances. If the apartment complex and tenant are not able to come to an agreement, the judge follows the law and an eviction order will be given. Sometimes renters will leave before the sheriff arrives to perform a forced eviction. A forced eviction is when a company is hired to remove individuals or personal property from the rental unit. Therefore, we are requesting that forced evictions are halted during the holiday season, December 15th through January 3rd. If you can please make this request to the Cobb County Board of Commissioners, because it's the Cobb County Master Court that handles evictions. On the Tuesdays and Fridays of the month, 9 a.m. and 1 p.m., Cobb County hears about 100 cases of evictions. So thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Betty Lou Johnson, 2215 Crest Lane, Southeast Smyrna, Georgia, 30080. Transportation, guns, trees, and bushes. That's our topic.
Thank you. I live in Smyrna. I never actually knew I was going to live in Georgia, but I'm here, and I really appreciate the weather here. The main things I don't like, well, there's a list of things, but I'd like to start with this. First of all, rent control. When I came here, my rent was, I want to say, 5-something. Now it has doubled because of the stadium. And I'm trying to figure out why is it such a rent increase so much and so often. I can't understand that. If at least we would have rents that people can afford, and in a nice area. Smyrna is a really nice area. There's not a lot of crime here. I've been here 7 years now, and those 7 years, I've only seen, I want to say maybe 3 major type crimes, and those things were just people having to, all of a sudden, they were charged for something, and the police had to go and get them for something that just happened all of it at once. But it wasn't like shooting, like a lot of this going on. Like every day you turn on the news, it's shooting, guns. You know, I would like to see this area strive, but I mean, and I'd love to live here, and I'd love to stay here. I'd love to die here, actually. But to have the amount of rent of how it's coming up so much and so quick, it's phenomenal. And then the bushes. A lot of times you come out of areas and the traffic is coming, you can't see because of the bushes being so high. If those bushes were cut a little lower, then you probably wouldn't have as many people coming out, and then you probably have a lot of accidents because of these things, especially on Cumberland Parkway, and I want to say by Walgreens and Paces Ferry. You come out of there and you cannot see that traffic coming around. The same thing in a lot of other areas. It's just a lot of trees, a lot of bushes in the way. Spring Hill Parkway, that whole area as you come, I guess it's a water plant. You make that turn and there's a street that goes, back street, along the expressway. Well, there's trees hanging, and I've called, but no one's came so far. And I'm afraid these trees are going to fall on somebody's house or a car, and it's going to have accident. But you just can't see sometimes because of the branches and the trees. And then as far as transportation, on Sundays there's only one bus. There's a number 12. And that 12 takes you all the way through the city, which takes a long time to get to the Mater station. Why can't we have a number 10 that would go also right to the Art Center, which gets you closer to the Mater station and then to the airport? It's just such a long ride, and then they stop it on Sundays. And why can't we have in Cobb County the buses to run longer time length? The buses stop at 12 o'clock. If you're not on at that bus by 12, then you'll miss it. Then you have to take a cab. That cab will cost you at least $50-some to get back to Smyrna. So why can't we have a 10 and a 12 instead of just a 12? And then as far as the markings on the streets, Cumberland Parkway, I want to say at least 3 sections. You can drive on that street, but you'll see that there's no lines, especially at the Cumberland Mall. You'll turn out and you'll go onto the street, but you have the expressway there. And once you make that turn, you might end up right on the expressway, and you have 2 other lanes that merge almost into that same lane that's going into the expressway, when actually if you had street markings for 3 lanes, 1 for the expressway, 2 for the street, you don't have all these cars merging into each other. So if you were to start at Acres Mill and go down Cumberland Parkway, almost to Windy Hill, there's several areas where you just don't have these turn lanes for cars to really see how they can navigate into the lane, because everybody's kind of
Ms. Johnson,
merging together.
I'll let you go over, but almost 3 minutes.
Yeah.
So thank you for your comments, and I'll just tell you this, that a lot of this is out of our jurisdiction. It's actually Cobb County. The transportation issue, it seems like most of the issues you got are Cobb County related, and we'll be glad to give you the right person to talk to in Cobb County, because we don't have any jurisdiction over some of those things. Okay?
I see.
All right?
All right, thank you
ma'am.
for having me.
Bill Strickland, I know you signed up for hands-free. That's the last speaker. I want to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving, and be safe. And we'll see y'all back here December the 5th. This meeting is adjourned at 9:02. See if you can't get that, Ms. Johnson. Okay. Scott, you gonna tell her? Yeah. What is this? Okay. What's this racist? Okay.
One of them is like a second part.
There's that. Here's your pen back. Yep, I think I did. Thank you.